到吗？能听到吗？
可以听到的。Good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We will be starting shortly as scheduled at 10 a.m. Kindly stay tuned. 尊敬的各位来宾，下午好，感谢您参加今天的线上研讨会，请稍作等待，研讨会即将开始，谢谢。
To aggregate the power of capital, to serve the equity investment market in the professional investment and global business perspective, construct an all-dimensional project matching platform for equity investment. Establish an industry model by promoting pleasurable investments, create win-win in the course of wealth maximization. This is what we are aiming at Zhongguangtu Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, Beijing, China, the most active professional and internationalized equity investment association in China. The Zhongguangtu Private Equity and Venture Capital Association is a national private equity investment association legally registered with the Civil Affairs Department of China. Well-known members include Sequoia Capital, Tianxin Capital, China Equity Investment Group, SoftBank China Venture Capital, Shenzhen Capital Group, and Shanghai FOF, etc. In light of Zhongguangtu's innovative and pioneering spirit, in collaboration with local think tanks, to mirror the concept of specialized and internationalized organization development. We organize about 10 high-level market finding missions and dozens of project matching events every year. We strive to establish a high-end, professional, and international project resource exchanging platform to serve the Chinese equity investment market. Our motto, professionalization. Our work is well designed to center on 4 activities of fundraising, investment, management, and withdrawal in the equity investment industry. By organizing a series of investment and financing activities like entrepreneurship and investment competition of national business schools, Saloon on Innovation and Capital, Investors Afternoon Tea, listed companies, cross-border mergers and acquisitions, investment roadshow, etc. We provide member institutions with hundreds of high-class domestic and international investment projects every year. We also organize events to facilitate fundraising channels and industry experience and sharing, working, and other services for our members. President's Meeting is a directors' meeting attended by the investment moguls of ZVCA, conducted on a regular basis respectively in Shenzhen, Shanghai, and Beijing. The meeting is the highest level private meeting in China's investment community, and the meeting has been very well attended, with a number of attendants exceeding expectations every year and time for discussions extended. The meeting is invaluable with the contribution of these great minds. Listed companies, cross-border mergers and acquisitions, investment roadshows serve as the Chinese listed companies to foreign investment and mergers and acquisition, which is to seek the most open and direct exchange activities of the project. With once or twice a month in major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Hangzhou, we have borne fruits. Innovation and Capital Forum, from the international perspective, is one of the most influential brand names of investment forum in China. South China, China Equity, Cohen Group, IDG, Shenzhen Capital Group, JD Capital, Sequoia Capital China, and CSC Group, well-known moguls from the above domestic investment institutions, are all present on the forum. And ambassadors from more than 10 countries, including Gary Fay Locke, and member of the NPC Standing Committee, Mr. Shen Zugu, have attended the forum and given speeches. Our motto, internationalization. Active international platform in China's equity investment community, we have been playing a key role in a series of the investment and finance docking activities from the United States, Canada, Israel, Italy, Britain, France, Australia, with those of the municipal governments of Beijing and other Chinese cities. Foreign delegates we have received include the Mayor of Ottawa, Ontario China Trade Mission, Alberta Minister of Economic Affairs, Mayor of Vancouver, the Israeli Minister of Economy and Director of Investment Promotion Center of Israel, the Chief Scientist of Israel, and Nobel Prize winners. Successfully organized the France Digital Innovation Forum, Investment Fair of French Delegation in China, North American Entrepreneurship Competition, Australia and China Science and Technology Innovation and Exchange Conference. These have created remarkable impact on international exchange on subjects of innovation. In 2013, during the Project Exchange meeting in Vancouver, Canada, ZVCA President Mr. Jason Wang and Mayor of Vancouver Mr. Gregor Robertson signed a strategic cooperation agreement in Vancouver, Canada to boost bilateral trade and investment. In 2015, under the witnesses of Mayor of Beijing Mr. Anshun Wang and Mayor of Ottawa Jim Watson, the association signed a long-term strategic cooperation agreement with Ottawa Investment Agency. In 2016, under the witnesses of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, ZVCA signed an agreement with Canada Ford Capital and established a Canada-China Cross-Border Investment FOF. ZVCA utilized its extensive network from both home and abroad and worked on setting up of an international standard of incubation practice and forming of a Chinese incubator union. Meantime, the ZVCA Union and its president's institution initiated a largest ever cross-border M&A FOF, the objective of which is to provide professional services to our members and domestic listed companies for screening and choosing high-quality international projects, international investments and listed company connections, matchmaking activities for financing and investment docking of the international projects, etc., and to streamline the channel for all member institutions to expand in international markets. We are a professional platform that can assist to elevate horizon and expand international network. Zhongguangtu Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, the most active, professional, international private equity investment industry association in China.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, UAE-China Capital Corporation Workshop, organized by Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Zhongguangcun Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, Capital Club Dubai, supported by Nasdaq Dubai. My name is Junji, and I'll be your facilitator this morning. From this point on, I'll be speaking in both English and Chinese during my facilitation. 尊敬的各位来宾，下午好，欢迎大家参与中国阿联酋资本合作研讨会。本次研讨会由迪拜工商会、中关村股权投资协会、迪拜资本俱乐部主办，纳斯达克迪拜支持举办。我是迪拜工商会深圳代表处负责人司军杰，很荣幸担任今天研讨会的主持。To commence this webinar, I would like to cover a few housekeeping notes. 在研讨会开始前，请允许我介绍以下注意事项。Today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with your colleagues. 今天的线上研讨会全程录像，我们会在活动结束后将会议视频发送至各位邮箱，也欢迎各位将视频分享给今天因故未能参会的同事和朋友。We also invite your comments and questions. Please look at the Q&A chat box on your screen. If you think of a question for the speakers at any point, just type it in there and I will post it to our speakers for the Q&A portion at the end of the event. 我们欢迎各位在研讨会过程中积极提问。如果您希望就嘉宾的发言内容或者研讨的议题提出自己的问题，欢迎在屏幕下方的讨论区以文字的方式提问。我们的嘉宾将在最后的问答环节按照先后顺序进行作答。During this webinar, your microphone will be disabled by our virtual host to ensure optimal and smooth webinar experience. It is recommended to exit all background applications and other inactive web tabs to avoid your internet from overloading. 在此研讨会期间，我们将禁用您的麦克风，以确保最流畅的研讨会体验。建议各位退出所有后台的应用程序和网页，以防止网络过载导致的卡顿。For translation, please select the suitable interpretation option on the bottom of your screen and stay in the channel during the entire webinar. 在研讨会发言及分享环节，我们将全程提供中英双语同声传译，请于屏幕下方选择合适的语言频道。对于我们的中国观众来说，选择下方的小地球按钮，然后选择合适的语言频道，保持在语言频道内，就能够持续听到合适您的中英文翻译。Without further ado, I'm going to hand the floor over to Mr. Omar Han, Director of International Offices of Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who is going to deliver a welcome address. 下面请允许我向大家介绍阿联酋迪拜工商会国际办事处主任奥马尔·汉先生。欢迎奥马尔先生为本次研讨会致开幕词。Mr. Han, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Junji, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all staying safe. On behalf of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it's my honor and pleasure to address you and support this important workshop, which is building new bridges between the investment communities in China and the UAE. Although uncertain times like these have presented many challenges, there are also opportunities in the new landscape. The strong participation in this virtual event reflects a growing appetite among the businesses in China to explore investments and partnerships abroad. Over the last few years, China has made concerted efforts to open the country's financial sectors to foreign investors. New rules making it easier for international investors to trade in China's booming capital market have come into force, making it easier for UAE financial institutions to access Chinese markets. Last year, we took the notice of the record flows into the Chinese bond markets, and as investors sought the best global returns. Today, we will discuss opportunities for Chinese and UAE investors to cooperate in this field. Recognized as one of the world's top global financial centers, Dubai remains a preferred investment hub with the Dubai International Financial Center serving as the ideal gateway to the Middle East and North Africa. The Emirate is also home to a renminbi clearing center established 5 years ago, which has facilitated the clearing process of an increased amount of attraction to the UAE market for Chinese investors and companies. DIFC is also home to Nasdaq Dubai, the premier exchange in the Middle East, North Africa region. The Nasdaq Dubai offers bespoke opportunities and solutions for Chinese companies looking to raise capital in Dubai's public market. And we will hear from them today in detail later in this session. Dubai also is a leading hub for venture capital and angel investment in the Middle East, North Africa, and even I would say Africa as a whole. And more Chinese technology companies are interested in raising money in or through to Dubai to roll out their services in the region. Additionally, investors are increasingly interested in making placements in Chinese technology-focused funds, with the goal of taking part in China's rapid output of world-class companies. Dubai is a market of strategic importance to China. It serves as a strategic trade hub for Chinese products re-exported across the Middle East, Africa, as well as Europe. Now, China remains Dubai's top trading partner with $18 billion accounted for in bilateral non-oil trade in the first half of 2020, and Dubai attracted $3.6 billion in foreign investment from China in 2019, making it the Emirates' second largest source for FDI. Leading Chinese companies such as Huawei, Alibaba, and Shanghai Electric have all chosen to invest in Dubai as their Middle East North Africa hub office. Following the signing of the Chinese-UAE Strategic Cooperation Partnership a few years ago, the two countries have increased collaboration in key areas of mutual interest, such as renewable energy, technology, innovation, AI, as well as food security, which has become very, very important in light of the COVID challenges. Launched by Mubadala and the Chinese state-owned partners in 2015, the UAE-China Joint Investment Fund also focuses on joint investments in strategic projects related to the Belt and Road Initiative. Dubai is a natural partner of cooperation for the China Belt and Road Initiative, given the Emirates' world-class logistics infrastructure and position along the new Silk Road, offering easy access to markets across Asia, Eurasia, Africa, and the Middle East. China has also been a key focus of Dubai Chamber's international expansion plans in recent years. We have made strategic decisions to open a representative office in Shanghai in 2016 and one more office in Shenzhen last year, which have played a crucial role in facilitating bilateral trade and investment. Since then, the number of Chinese companies registered with Dubai Chamber surged by more than 50% to exceed over 3,300 companies today. Ladies and gentlemen, our close relationship with China is symbolic of Dubai Chamber's strategy of reaching out to promising markets across the world and providing our 260,000 members with access to attractive business opportunities, whether they are inflows or outflows of talent, products, or capital. I'm confident about the prospects and the outcome of this workshop, and I hope that it will strengthen the economic ties between our countries. Our experts today will highlight the practical considerations for deploying and raising capital in both markets. Allow me to conclude by reminding you that our representative offices in China are here and always there to support you. They're only an email, a phone call, or a WeChat message away. Should you have any interest in learning about Dubai, or should any of our UAE companies want to learn about the China's opportunities in terms of the capital markets. I want to thank our partners for today's event, including the Capital Club and Zhonghu Wankun Venture Capital Private Equity Association, who are playing an important role in bringing together investors from China and the UAE. Thank you once again, and I hope you enjoy this workshop and find it very useful. Please stay safe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Omar, for your welcome remarks. Now, please join me in welcoming Mr. Jason Wang, President of Zhongguancun Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, who is going to deliver a welcome address. 接下来，让我们热烈欢迎中关村股权投资协会会长王少杰先生为本次研讨会致欢迎词。王会长，有请。
好，谢谢。大家好，非常高兴欢迎大家来到今天的线上的活动。那么今天呢，是由 CAC 和我们迪拜的几个组织共同举行的这个线上活动。那么非常高兴呢，我这里先介绍一下 CAC 中关村股权投资协会。中关村股权投资协会是一个中国围绕着投资、资本创新的一个行业组织。那我们的会员呢，是全中国的一个行业的分布，从北到南，北京、上海、广州、深圳，哪里都有我们的会员。同时呢， 我们有1000多家的这种行业的投资机构，包括行业的领袖级的这种上市公司，那么未来的一些独角兽，那么这些围绕创新的资源呢，都分布在中关村股权投资协会这些的这个组织的生态中。同时呢，中关村股权投资协会呢，又是一个国际化的组织。我们呢是最早开始呢进行国际的创新、国际的投资和国际的交流。那么我们在很多的国家和地区呢，都有我们的合作伙伴，都有我们的分支机构，都有我们的共同的一个大家的合作伙伴。那么今天呢，应该说是我们第一次呢和迪拜工商会呢在线上举办这样一个活动，非常非常高兴，因为之前呢我也多次的到过中东，到过迪拜。那么迪拜的高楼大厦那种创新的活力呢，那和我们现在这种中国的形式呢，非常非常的相像。而且的话呢，因为中东呢也有很多资本呢，包括政府呢也非常重视创新。那么今天这个活动呢，应该说我们有非常好的专家，既有中东的专家，也有中国的专家，那么双方来介绍中东的创新。中东的资本如何跟中国合作？那么中国最大的这些投资机构，包括今天后边我们的致辞演讲的嘉宾，中国最大的投资机构前海母基金的这个高原先生也会来介绍中国的整个投资的形式，中国的资本的现在的状态，那么中国想跟中东迪拜合作的这种愿望和方式。最近呢，因为我们也正在和前海母基金一起呢，在组织一个针对跟中东方面合作的一个母基金。那么，因为中国现在的企业不光是在国内的创新，那么也基本上在全球的资本市场上都活跃着中国创新的企业。所以呢，我们也非常希望能得到国际组织、美元资本的一些支持，使我们中国非常多的优秀的企业呢，能走向全球，奔向全球的资本市场。今天因为我们也有资本市场的代表，那么后边的话呢，今天我想我们只是一个刚刚的开始，我们也想更多的大家呢能建立一种长期的这种互动和交流，那么更多的呢来创造我们双方的机构这种合作的机会。像去年的话呢，因为我们的海南呢刚刚在国家推出新的这种国际旅游岛、国际贸易岛，这样我们也是跟迪拜呢有很好的交流和学习。最近呢，我们也准备在海南的三亚呢发起一个迪拜中国国际金融的创新中心，所以呢，我们实际上一直在促进迪拜、中国、中东、中国和国际社会的密切的交流。那么也希望更多的组织能在我们这个平台上能找到非常好的合作伙伴，能共创我们的未来，创造我们共同的幸福的事业。好，就说这么多，谢谢，谢谢。
Thank you very much, Mr. Wang. 非常感谢王会长的精彩致辞。I would like now to introduce you our next speaker, Mr. Tariq Kakish, Chief Executive Officer, Salt Fund Placement. An award-winning executive and one of the most powerful fund managers, Mr. Kakish has an extensive more than 20 years experience in asset and wealth management. Tariq manages funds and wealth of family offices and institutional investors in the Middle East region. 塔里克先生是一位在中东地区屡获殊荣的基金经理，也在资产和财富管理领域拥有超过20多年的丰富经验。他及其所领导的 Salt Fund Management 公司管理着中东地区的家族办公室和机构投资者的财富。该公司为机构投资者、高净值投资者以及希望从中东地区筹集资金的公司提供服务。In case you have any questions for Mr. Tariq, or during Mr. Tariq's presentation, if I can kindly ask you to write your questions in the box below your window. 如果您在这个 Tariq 先生分享的过程当中有任何的疑问，欢迎您在这个评论区对他进行提问。 接下来，让我们欢迎 Tariq 先生带来他的分享。Tariq, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So hello everyone and welcome to the workshop. I'll try to be quick and will not bore you again. So as Mr. Omar Khan, from Dubai Chamber mentioned, there's lots of opportunities and initiatives that was done between China and the UAE. And so the start is because of the political, I think, ties between the UAE and China is very strong. So it's not only about oil. The relationship before was purely built on oil trade, and that's it. Now it's expanding and it's diversifying. So the recent visit by Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, who is the Crown Prince, His Highness, went to China in 2019. He signed around 16 memorandum of understanding, and they were in different sectors. Oil was, of course, is one of them, but other initiatives such as the Amar project that was agreed on, which was worth around 11 billion with Beijing International Airport. Of course, ADNOC is the oil company of Abu Dhabi, was also signing agreement to initiate projects not only in China, in India and Indonesia, worth of 45 billion. So the relationship is strong, and it shows very high commitment from the top people in the government, on both governments. At the same time, China is also investing in the UAE. In 2018, they invested around 8 billion in the UAE. So if you can move to the slide number 2, please. Can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, great. So again, as we said, it's not only oil and construction, it's more diversified. So they started to see more relationship towards tourism. Tourism is one of them. I remember in 2014, I was at Dubai Mall, and I saw a huge number of Chinese tourists. And that was the biggest tours I think I've seen in my life. And maybe it was around 16,000 people. Of course, for the UAE, we have a population of 9 million. It's a big number. For China, maybe 16,000 is not that much, but 16,000 was a major, major tour into the UAE. Again, there is bilateral trade between the China and UAE. They're boosting it from around 53 billion to 70 billion. For Chinese who did not see Dubai yet, I'm not sure if they know, but there is something called the Dragon Mart. Dragon Mart is the largest hub for Chinese products outside China. So it's in Dubai, it's stationed in Dubai. So the relationship is very strong in terms of trade. As Omar also mentioned, the re-export is one of the major also element of cooperation between the both countries. Recently, I think before 2 or 3 days, China also signed an agreement with Abu Dhabi to start producing the COVID-19 vaccine, which was a major shift also to the relationship. So it's becoming more trade, technology transfer, also on the medical side, and diversifying from oil relationship. Next slide, please. Thank you. So you can see the market opportunity is big. So from a government level, the GCC has around $3 trillion in sovereign wealth funds. So, I'm sure this is a massive number, and I'm sure lots of asset managers and private equity asset managers want to come and grab some of this opportunity. At the same time, the GCC has the highest GDP per capita. Qatar, of course, is the highest with $62,000, and followed by the UAE with around 43,000. Next slide, please. So for wealth size, so we're talking about the private sector and the government. For the private sector, there's lots of numbers, there's lots of reports. So I'm not sure which one is correct because we don't have, something, very accurate. But for the numbers that we have, there is in the UAE around $825 billion of private wealth, and the UAE is considered one of the countries that they attract the highest number of millionaires in the world. So as we mentioned before, the infrastructure is unique in the UAE, and it's attracting lots of millionaires to reside in the UAE and start businesses. In Saudi, at the same time, the ultra high net worth expanded in 2020. Everybody was thinking that the pandemic, people left. Yes, there were a decline in the number of millionaires or an ultra high net worth in the region, but in Saudi it's expanded by 10%, according to some of the reports. So the Middle East is considered the fourth major hub for wealth, and that's one of the market opportunities for asset managers at the same time. Next, please. So again, this is saying the same thing. So we think oil back to $60, it will create, or it's expected to increase the government spending, and therefore it will translate to more projects, and therefore private sector will make more money and increase their wealth. So we hope the economies to continue to grow with the rise of the oil, and hopefully the pandemic is over and we go back to the normal business. Next slide, please. So the wealth from the private sector, and as you know, the family offices, not only the UAE and the region, it's all over the world. There will be an opportunity of loss of this capital from generation to generation. So some of those countries in the region are creating lots of regulations and encouraging those family offices to enforce corporate governance, potentially become a public company or listing them on secondary market to make sure that this wealth will be sustainable for the next generation and it will not be lost. So the numbers that they are talking about, there is a $1 trillion worth of assets that will be transferred to the next generation in the Middle East in the next 10 years, as per one of the reports. Next slide, please. We all know that, of course, China is big and the numbers are massive. So it's becoming a very fresh story to the business people in the world. So before, everybody was allocating to the developed countries, which is known, US and Europe, and Asia, some places in Asia. But now there is the China, and China is attracting lots of foreign direct investment to its fresh ideas and fresh opportunities. So if you look at the listed stocks, China represents around 50% of the emerging markets. And for the world market, it's the second largest after the US with 8%. So for asset managers, they want to allocate funds. They cannot ignore China anymore. They have to replicate that weight at least. So most of the clients I spoke to, they are focusing on listed stocks. The challenge is now still that they trade those stocks, the Chinese stocks, on the US exchanges. So it's not something easy for regional investors to start investing in Chinese exchanges till now. So I think there should be more education and more visits by maybe the stock exchange to the region, and encourage those investors to start direct trading with the market. As you know, China has opened its capital market to foreign investment, so it's not something difficult to do anymore. And Omar mentioned also the currency between the UAE and China is more flexible now. So next slide, please. For the private equity investors, so far, investors, they prefer going through managers because they don't understand how the regulations work, how the tax system. So they prefer to go through a fund manager. So deal by deal opportunities is still not the favorite for investors. But again, this is something that the Chinese need to work on. They need to start educating regional investors with their systems. It's not about the opportunity itself. They need to educate the investors because, not everything investors understand how China works. And that's the challenge because, the Chinese, when they come to the region, they expect that people understand their system. It's not the case. So they have to spend more time educating investors. Next slide, please. So in terms of the bond market, as you can see, it's massive. They increased from 0 to $16 trillion. US is investing heavily in the bond market in China. However, the Gulf region, so far, I did not see lots of appetite because the local, let's say the regional issues here, the bonds are attractive and they are generating higher yield than international bonds. So the competition here is about the yield and the ratings. So investors, although they like to diversify, but this is not one of the asset classes that they look at for China. Next slide, please. M&A, again, there's lots of activities in privatization because of the threat now. What's happening with the US, between US and China, is to delist some of those stocks that are listed on the exchange. That created lots of M&A activities. So, I think the M&A, according to Price Waterhouse, again, they said that the M&A deals in China will reach around $734 billion, which is an increase of 30%. And the technology, of course, is the largest ticket that the investors look at. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the most important slide in my opinion because it's explaining what is the the expectations from the Chinese asset managers. So to be able to succeed, I think we have to reach to understanding, and that's very important. When we go to China, of course, we need to understand the system, how it works. So the first thing I experienced with not only the Chinese fund managers is the gap between the expectations and, they want to come here, they want to raise AUM, assets under management, but without understanding the target audience. So I had a chance to meet a fund manager from China who runs around 30 billion, and that was before the COVID, of course. And they wanted to raise 500 million in 2 months only from private investors. And that was like a mission impossible. So what I'm trying to say is that the expectations is too high because the asset managers in China are big, they are sizable. When they come to the region, they think that they're gonna grab a big amount of money. It's not the case, and it's not as easy as before. So before 2008, the due diligence process was easier, not anymore, not even for the Middle East investors. They have lengthy due diligence process. Most of the family offices now, they have investment managers with qualified teams on board with long track record also. So that's one of the main thing that I faced during the work with international fund managers, and especially the Chinese, because they're massive in terms of the numbers. Other things that we should look at and think about is that there is a limited information about China, and that again, maybe the Chinese chamber should work on it with the Dubai chamber. The language barrier is always a concern. The issue is sometimes when you meet a Chinese fund manager, they bring in a translator who doesn't understand the financial terms. So it's so difficult to understand what they are talking about when we talk business. So the business language was not translated properly. Also, the regulations that the investors in the region, in the Middle East region, they are used to when they go invest in the US and Europe, they are used to that system. It's for China, it's more complicated, although it's getting better and better by the time. Of course, also another issue is the tax requirements. There should be more education on that side. We talked about the delisting of the Chinese companies also from the US capital market and how this will affect the investors' appetite. Currency is less problematic. It's not a concern anymore. However, investors in the region, they like to have something pegged to the dollar. So my suggestion is purely increase the educational material for Gulf investors, and when this fund managers comes to the region, they have to spend more time with investors and explain to them the system, how it works before they explain the opportunity. On the other side, Chinese fund managers, they can expand their listing on the global platforms and wealth managers. This will create more volume towards Chinese fund managers. Having a partner in the region will help and increase the visit volume. It's not only one-time visit, and it's not only 2 times visits. It has to be regular. Investors in the region, they have to see committed fund managers coming to the region and spending more time with investors rather than just one-time meeting and close the deal. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'll leave it for you.
Thank you very much, Tarek, for your wonderful presentation. That was very informative. Before we move on to the next presentation on the agenda, let me ask you a quick question. And this is today's first polling questions. 那在进入下一个环节之前呢，我们稍作休息，进行今天的第一个在线投票调研。那这是我们今天的这个整个研讨会里的第一个投票调研。各位现在应该能够在不管是手机还是电脑屏幕上看到这个问题。这个问题是，抱歉，我这边可能问题的顺序有一个调整。这个问题是这样的，是 Other than the U.S. and mainland China, which location is the most attractive for Chinese companies considering public listings? 除了中国和美国之外，对于考虑上市的中国公司而言，哪个选择是最有吸引力的？我看到大概20多位观众已经做出了选择，我们会再给各位30秒的考虑时间，请尽快做出大家的选择。我们进行这样的这个在线的调研活动呢，其实一方面是跟各位观众保持一个线上的互动，另一方面呢是我们在最后的答疑环节也可以邀请各位嘉宾对这个问题提出自己的一些分享和探讨。好的，在最后10秒钟。好，我现在终止问卷调查。我相信各位现在可以在屏幕上看到这个调研的结果。我们大部分的观众选择了香港，也是不太意外的一个选择。那除此之外呢，迪拜是我们的第2选择。So as you can see, as a result of the polling question, most of the audience selected Hong Kong, which is not very surprising to all of us. And Dubai appears as number 2 in the ranking. And we hope that today's webinar, like Mr. Omar and Tarek said, will be a starting point for more upcoming corporations for future. 感谢大家，那我们进入下一个环节。I would like now to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Gao Yuan, Managing Director, Qianhai Fund of Funds, Qianhai Equity Fund LLP, Honorary President, Member of Zhongguancun Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, who will be giving his presentation on environment and opportunities of equity investment in China. If you have any questions for Mr. Gao during his presentation, if I can kindly ask you to write your questions in the box below your window. 接下来让我们欢迎高原先生带来他的分享。高原先生是前海母基金、前海股权投资基金董事总经理，中关村股权投资协会荣誉会长单位。他的分享主题是中国股权投资的环境与机遇。高总有请。您可以直接选择分享屏幕，然后进行您的分享。
王总，这个是什么？就是要把那个全部的这个，现在你看得到吗？
高总，我这边看不到，不然这样我帮您分享，然后我按照您的这个介绍来，可以吗？
可以，好，
没问题。
好，谢谢。
好的，那您可以开始了。Please, Mr. Gao, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thanks a lot for the invitation from Mr. Chairman Wang, and thank you very much for Mr. Omar Khan. I'm very glad to speak here and talk about some market environment here in China. So because this presentation, the contents is a lot here, and I will I will try to summarize them very shortly. And if somebody interested in more information, and you can ask me or ask the organizer for the documents later to read it. Okay, let's talk about first. Let's talk about the Chinese macroeconomic environment in last year. So please, next slide. You can see that our government has decided and to have the next 45-year plan and the long-term goals in 2035, and also we have organized the Central Economic Work Conference last year, and in these meetings and these plans and these goals, and it showed us a lot of information about technology innovation, and also a lot of accelerations of development of modern industry systems, etc. It's a lot of information here, and you can read it carefully. And we can go next slide. So you will see that the China GDP in 2020 grew up to 2.3% in last year, and the retail sales, consumer goods fell, and the consumer upgrade products have even grow up. So that is very significantly here. And in many different industry got also a lot of growth and increase in last year, like industrial robot, new energy vehicles, and the microcomputers, etc. So please, next slide. So let's look at the market overview about the Chinese VCP market, and you can see the comparison here from the United States and China, and including fundraising and the investment amount, and also the exit cases here. And our market has recovered after the epidemic very shortly, and the US fundraising dropped 20% in last year. So there is a lot of numbers, and you can see that. So please, next page. Okay, in China, there are 710 new registered entities for the equity investment fund manager in last year. So the number of equity investment fund managers, there are including the private equity and venture capital, and also the other private equity asset allocation managers, and also the subsidiaries of the security companies' private equity funds. So this is the information from AMAC last year, from the completed registration last year. Is over 710. It's a very large number. So next page, please. So let's talk about the investment here. Next page, please. Next page, please. So in China, this equity investment, including venture capital, angel investment, and also private equity M&A investment, is developed since 30 years. So we have first started the venture capital investment since 1992. There are IDG Capital entered China, and the venture capital started developing China that time. At that time is totally US funds dominated, and the Shenzhen Capital Group was as a Shenzhen Technology Investment Company Limited was set up in 1996, and also transferred and restructured in 1999 to Shenzhen Capital Group, which is and was the leading Chinese venture capital and private equity investors in China. So, and after that, a lot of famous Chinese investors was set up, like Dacheng, Fortune, they called Fortune Capital, and also Sequoia Capital got into China in 2007, and with Neil Shen, and a lot of good managers appears that time. And in the next period of time is from 2009 till 2014. So there was a lot of different fund managers coming out, and they are specialized in industry focused. With that, this industry focused, it's like Freeze or like Gen Fund. So this kind of fund managers was very active, and now it's totally developed, and a lot of CVC and a lot of state-owned backgrounded private equity and venture capital manager like China Chengtong Holding, and so this kind of players is coming in. So this market is spawning a really new market qualifying competition now. It's very hard competition for the GPs now. So please, next page. So let's have a review about the China equity investment market in last year. Macroly, we just talked a little bit about that, and now is more intensively. And I will speak about fundraising, and speak about investment, speak about exit, and especially speak about IPO market. So this is a 4 point in the next step we will talk about. So the fundraising market, as you see here, no matter the numbers or newly raised fund amount, they get increased, the numbers, but the newly raised funds amount was fairly little, like 3.8%. But you see that the number of the fund was significantly increased, 30.6%. Next page, please. So there is a quarterly comparison of fundraising in China, in China's equity investment market last year, and you will also see that the fundraising in numbers and was getting fell, and the amount was in last Q3 and Q4 was increased. So next page, please. Okay, this is the fundraising situation about different stage. You can see the newly raised funding nearly in early stage investment market was 30.05 billion, and this is our RMB, and this is an increase near 10%. And also the fund raised was also 70, but it's a decrease of nearly 17%. So that is for early stage investment here, early stage fundraising here, and there is also a comparison from the 2015 till 2020 for the VC market fundraising here. The VC market, both fund and fund size and also the numbers of the funds was raised was getting increased here. 12.4% and also 15.1% here. So the private equity market fundraising from last 2 years was also from the amount here was a decrease of 17.4%, and but the numbers of the funds was even 1/3 more, so it's over 35% here. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, there is a chart about the RMB fund and also foreign currency fund. And the RMB fund was in 2020. We have an RMB fund more than 1,000 billion RMBs here, but it's still a decrease by 8.1%. But have another 200 billion non-RMB fund. This is an increase nearly 30%, so 28.5. Yeah. Next page, please. Okay, there is also a comparison about different stage of the fund raised, which compare the RMB funds and the foreign currency fund here. So in early stage, RMB fund raised was falling down, but the amount of foreign currency fund was increased over 176%. It's very huge. And in last 5 years, and there is also by VC market here is the fund was raised also fell by 2.8%, but the non-RMB fund was raised increased by over 66.2%. So there you can see that a lot of foreign offshore money coming to Chinese equity market. In PE market, it was also RMB fund raised fell by 9.1%, but the non-RMB fund was raised get an increase by 8%. So the same situation. Please, next page. Okay. So you can see also what kind of fund raised a lot of money here. So there is a distribution chart here. So you can see a lot of from PE here about venture capital size was a lot. Venture capital numbers is also a lot, but in amount here, you can see that the private equity was a lot in growth fund from the amount here. Okay, next page, please. So let's talk about investment. Next page, please. So there is a description about the total investment market last year in China, and we invested nearly 900 billion RMBs in 2020. The amount of investment in equity investment market rebounded slightly. So the investment activity fell down by 8.2%, and there is the decline was narrowed. But the total investment amount was still increased by 16.3%. You can see that is the number of investment cases was 7,559. So it's still a decreased by 8.2%, but the total amount was increased by 16.3% to nearly 900 billion. Next page, please. The investment market in quarterly here, and you will also see a very significantly increase in the last two quarters. In the last two quarters in 2020, so Q3 and Q4. Next page, please. Still, we will compare the early investment market situation here, and also the VC market situation, and also the PE market situation here. Yeah, you can see the from the month here, all of the three stage was get increase. Next page, please. So there is also a comparison from the of the RMB investment and the foreign currency investment. So there you can see that the China equity investment here by RMB is get raised by 7.9% by cases, but amount get falling down here. And foreign currency investment, the cases was raised by 35.3% and fell by 2.8% in amount here. Next page, please. So there's a detailed comparison here about the distribution in early stage and in VC market and also in PE market. So it's very similar here last year. The next page, please. I will go because the contents was very intensive. So I strongly recommend you to ask for the whole document. So there's a lot of because of the time reason, I cannot explain that very clearly. So there is about the investment market distributions here in different industries. As you see that IT and the IT and the internet, biotech and life science and the semiconductors and those kind of industry, attractive more monies than other industries here. Please, next page. Next page, please. Yes, this is a comparison. Okay, this is a distribution in different stage. Here, as I say, expansion stage. Also, there are a lot of money invested in. Next page, please. Yes, it's a different round here, and you can see from the here is from the cases here, it's A rounds was very large number, but from the amount here, that is the after E rounds was a lot. So most amount of them of the investment getting to the later stage investment. Okay, next page, please. So let's talk about the exit situation now in China. Next page, please. Yes, as you see that last year, so there was totally 3,842 exits from the Chinese equity markets. Here is an increase of 30.3%. So among them, the invested company got IPOs occurred 2,434 cases here. It's in numbers here is an increase of 54.7% here. And we must see that the Shanghai Scientech Innovation Board, we call it a STAR, as shorted, has been operated steadily for a year. And in 2020, the number of IPOs on STAR accounted for over 42.8% in totally the number of IPOs here. And a further increase from the level of 2019 is like 41.4%. Okay, next page, please. that is also a exit situation about different cases in different investment. So you can see that total exits was 221, and from the early IPO exit is 41 cases here. So for the of VC investment here is also 1,602 with IPOs here 951 cases here. So private equity was more. Okay, next page, please. How we got exits in China equity markets. Yeah, there is still no matter in early stage of VC or PE investment, the most methods of exit was still IPO, and but the early stage is a lot of get share transferred, so that is different from with other two. So there is still repurchasing and share transfer and backdoor listing, M&As and liquidations. All of the ways we can get exits. But the most popular way was still IPO here. Okay, next page, please. Because the most popular way was still IPO, and let's focus a little bit more about the IPO market here. So in China, we have a new security law, and there is a new chance for Chinese companies to get a home listed here. So there were over 535 Chinese companies was listed domestically and overseas, an increase up to 61%. So year on year, yeah, and they raised totally 842.63 billion RMBs. Is year on year an increase of totally nearly 78%. You can see in 2020, in comparison with 2019, was significantly an increase. Okay, next page, please. Yeah. The left chart was the number of the overseas listing and the domestic listings comparison here. So the domestic listings in the last 3 years was significantly more than overseas listings here, up to last year 395, and overseas listing was only 140. And the right side was a comparison where they raised the money. Domestically financing amount was significantly more than overseas financing. Next page, please. So we have changed our securities law, and now it's official this security insurance registration system. And also the secondary listing also a secondary listing to Hong Kong was also very popular now. So this is the data here, shows the number of listed companies in different markets, including Shanghai Star and Shenzhen Jim, and the Shanghai Stock Exchange main board, the A shares, and the Shenzhen Stock Exchange SME, and the Hong Kong Stock Exchange and the Hong Kong G, NASDAQ and the NYSE here. So next page, please.
Mr. Gao, apologize, I have to interrupt you here because of the timing. 不好意思啊，高总，打断您。如果您不介意的话，我们是不是方便跳到这个关于 future trends 的这一部分？我觉得那里可能是您希望讲的另一个重点。然后可能您还可以花一点时间介绍一下我们前海母基金的一些基本的情况。谢谢。
Okay, we can and the rest of the information you can ask for the from the organizer and to read that, and we see the next future trends of Chinese venture capital marketing here. The fundraising is still hard here, and no matter RMB or US dollar fund, and especially now the relationships of China and the United States, and it's also very hard to get US dollars from the United States. But I mean, the investment rounds are moving backward, because it's a logic and the period loss of the startup entrepreneurship here. So we have also a lot of state-owned LPs, and they are the main source of the RMB fundraising. So the state and the state-owned companies and the state-owned institutions, like financial institutions, they have more money as a RMB investors here. So the investment strategy of the LP, they are willing to do more invest directly together with their GPs. So the diversifications of the investment allocation was still a long-term exploration direction of the big LPs. So, and the market was still very hot, and there are maybe the valuation bubbles, or we have also the GP has a exit pressure, and we need maybe secondary fund for the market and to buy some shares contingent. And the CVC is coming. The competition is very hard now. So that's what we see. And the market after 30 years was becoming more mature. And let's talk about a little bit about us. And we are the most famous institutional investors in China. And we are also the single largest fund here in China. And we currently manage around 40 billion funds here. So we have the best and the most famous venture capitalist here in China. Mr. Jin Haitao is our chairman and founder. Please, next page. Next page, please. Yeah. So you can see our AUM. And our GPs together manage over 340 billion RMBs now. So let's talk about the next page. Next page, please. Yeah, this is about us, and we have AUM currently is around 50 billion. Our Shanghai equity fund, equity investment LLP, managing 28.5 billion, and we raised another 5G focused industry fund is like 10 billion, and we have also Jiaxing and Qilu and an angel fund, which was a direct investment fund, and they are totally around now 50 billion. So the exact fund management situation is in next page. You can see that next page. You can go the slide quickly, and for the next 2 page. This is about our chairman, our founder was most famous venture capitalist in China. And this is our institutional general partner, Shenzhen Capital Group, so which was the largest #1 player here in China. Next page, please. And we have also 5 very famous Chinese financial and venture capitalist investors here as our joint partners, which was the founding partners from Sequoia China, and the global chairman of IDG Capital, and also the former governor from China Merchants Bank, and also the founder and the chairman from Zero to IPO. Yeah, and so they are all famous. And we have also very good cooperation with Zhongguancun Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. Next page, please. Yeah, Mr. Wang and Ms. Lin. So they are also very, very famous here in China. So let's talk about our track record. The track record here is IRR. Yeah, over 37%. We have our team have achieved over 140 portfolio listed in 12 different exchanges worldwide. That's the distribution here. You can see that. Next page, please. So that's next page will show our management structure here. And as you see that we have a very big AUM here in China. We are the single largest commercial fund and commercial private equity fund in China. You will see a lot of big fund here in China. It's over 100 billion or something like that. But they are all state-owned. We are the single one in market, the largest commercial raised fund. And yes, but we are still planning an offshore fund like the US dollar, because the first strategy of us is funnel fund investment and combined co-investment strategy with our invested GPs here. So next page, please. So we have very good access to our GPs because 80% of our GPs they are managing both US dollar offshore funds and also RMB fund, and we are requiring them to give us co-investment opportunities if we invested them. So that is a softer lockup with the GPs we invested. So they have a lot of good opportunity and a good channel to get access in a lot of good offshore structured investment opportunities here. So, but we don't have the US dollars, and it's very regret to miss a lot of chances here to get invested into the good offshore deals. So that's our investment strategy here. Next page, please. Next page, please. It's awards from us. Yes. Okay, we have a lot of resources, GPs and investment funds, and they provide and different partners. They will provide us a lot of deals, and we will look at them intensively and select the best of the deals from their recommended here. So that is our strategy here. It's a very quick and efficient process. Next page, please.
Mr. Go, I apologize again. I have to cut you here because of the time. And as we promised that we will send the slides to all the delegates online in detail.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry because the things was too much, and we should have a good time. And you can ask me for the totally documented information and also for the organizer. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gao. 非常感谢。再次感谢高总的这个精彩分享，因为时间的原因，我们不得不打断您的这个分享。然后按照您的建议，我们会把这个详细的PPT 发给我们的这个在线的观众，然后确保他们收到这个您想要传递的信息。Thank you very much.
Yeah, because the topic was too large, so I'm sorry, I cannot. So
understand. Totally understand. Well, the content is amazing for us, but because of the timing, we have to cut you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Ms. Huiming Qiu, China Manager, NASDAQ Dubai, who will be giving her presentation on capital market listing in Dubai. 接下来，让我们热烈欢迎邱慧敏小姐。邱小姐是纳斯达克迪拜交易所中国战略拓展的负责人，她将为我们带来纳斯达克迪拜交易所的具体介绍。邱小姐，你有请。
好，谢谢俊杰。那各位尊敬的嘉宾，大家下午好。那首先我们特别衷心的感谢迪拜商会的这次邀请。那同时我们也十分荣幸能够和各位嘉宾一同分享关于迪拜资本市场上的介绍。那在该环节的开始，请允许我向您介绍纳斯达克迪拜交易所全球战略拓展部门主管塔希欧·航姆先生。塔希欧先生将会为该环节发表简要的开场致辞。 Mr. Taher will give a brief introduction for this session. Let's welcome Mr. Taher.
Thank you, Humin. Thank you, Junji. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to be part of this webinar alongside Dubai Chamber to highlight the ways in which we can help Chinese companies expand and raise capital. United Arab Emirates is the second largest Arab economy, and China was UAE's top trading partner in specific sectors in 2018, being over $38 billion. The two countries enjoy a good strategic relationship at both the government and business levels. Dubai itself is host to as many as 138 of the global Fortune 500 companies' Middle East and Africa headquarters, well ahead of any other center. Now, Dubai is further strengthening its position as the region's business and capital markets hub. This includes Dubai's role in the Belt and Road Initiative, which is very beneficial to MEASA countries and, of course, China itself. Nasdaq Dubai's activities is supporting Chinese companies are unmatched anywhere in our region. And the potential for this relationship to continue growing is unlimited. Nasdaq Dubai already has a thriving relationship with Chinese issuers through its bond platform. 4 Chinese banks that have a base in DIFC, which are Agricultural Bank of China, China Construction Bank, and the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, have all listed bonds with us, and the government of Hong Kong has also listed their sukuk with us. And now we look forward to listing IPOs from China, following the announcement last year of the Nasdaq Dubai Growth Market. This market is tailor-made for SMEs and growth companies with a market cap of up to $250 million. And here in Dubai, not only do we have Nasdaq Dubai to support businesses and the capital market, we also have Dubai Financial Market, the onshore exchange that offers issuers complementary opportunities to access investors. We welcome companies from around the world and China in particular, as Chinese companies seek new listing venues overseas that will offer a warm welcome to their IPO and provide access to capital from global investors. Thank you, and I will now hand you back to Q to start the presentation. Over to you.
Thank you, Taher, for your brief introduction. 那么接下来我将为您详细介绍关于迪拜资本市场上的纳斯达克迪拜上市等详细内容。就如Taher先生跟之前各位嘉宾所提到的，中阿关系已然进入了黄金时期。也正如习近平主席在2018年对阿联酋进行国事访问，以及迪拜酋长在2019年回访中国所显示的那样，中阿两国政府在商业层面有着良好的战略关系。那么也自习近平主席在2013年发起"一带一路"倡议以来，中资机构在该地区的业务也日渐的活跃。那么阿联酋地区作为阿拉伯世界第2大经济体，长期以来与中国有着十分密切的合作。在贸易方面，中阿两国元首也表示力争在2023年将双方贸易额扩大到2000亿美元。另外，中阿关系的深厚不仅体现在贸易和投资方面，另一方面已有6000多家中资企业注册在迪拜，拓展其中东北非的业务。纳斯达克迪拜位于迪拜国际金融中心，它也是该地区最大、最成功的金融中心，并且在2019年被 GFCI 评为全世界第8大国际金融中心。同时，也有许多中资企业将其中东北非的总部设立于此。那么在迪拜资本市场上，它拥有2家证券交易所，一家是刚刚所提到的位于迪拜国际金融中心的纳斯达克迪拜，另外一家则是位于迪拜在岸地区的证券交易所迪拜金融市场。这2家交易所的关键区别在于监管的不同。纳斯达克迪拜是由迪拜金融服务管理局 DFSA 所监管，而迪拜金融市场则由阿联酋证券和商品管理局 ESCA 所监管。2家监管有着略不相同的监管规则，这也给发行人提供了不同监管体系的选择。那么纳斯达克迪拜和迪拜金融市场，他们共同享有着同样的流动性资金池，对接着来自全球100多个不同国家和地区的投资人。该地区的领先经纪商同时连接着纳斯达克迪拜和迪拜金融市场，也就是说，投资者可以通过同样的经纪商与纳斯达克迪拜和迪拜金融市场进行交易。 那么该界面的数据主要是向您分享在迪拜资本市场上这2家交易所的一些重要数据分享。那么2家交易所在覆盖所有资产类别的总市值方面，已经超过了2230亿美金。自2014年起的新增市值也达到了1660亿美金。在纳斯达克迪拜和迪拜金融市场上市的股票也达到74家。迪拜作为中东北非领先的债券发源地，已共计发行121笔债券，总计价为960亿美元。同时，纳斯达克迪拜也是海湾合作委员会上提供股票期货的证券交易所。那么在交易方面，与2019年相比，2020年的交易价值提升了22%。2020年的日均交易量也达到了7740万美金，其中外资持有市场价值占比18%，境外投资者参与交易占比49%，机构投资者占比45%。从这些数据可以体现出纳斯达克迪拜和迪拜资本市场的发展速度是十分迅速的。那么，当我们提到投资者分布这块的时候，投资者资源固然是这个企业选择在哪个地区上市的重要考量因素之一。那么，有部分投资者会误以为在该地区交易所上市是否仅对接着该地区的投资人。因此，我们截取了一张于交易所上市的一家企业的投资者分布图。从图中您可以看到，37%的投资人是来自美洲地区，30%的投资人来自欧洲地区，另外27%来自中东北非，6%来自亚太地区。就如之前所提到的，纳斯达克迪拜和迪拜金融市场对接的这个投资人是来自100多个不同国家和机构的国家和地区的投资人。那么在这个发行人方面，我们也对接的来自世界不同地区的发行人。那在投资人方面的话，我们还对接着来自世界各地知名的基金公司和杰出的机构。仅该地区也拥有着世界上最大的这个投资基金，其资产也是达到了数亿美金，以及活跃于该地区的股票市场的富裕的个人投资者。那么，投资人可以通过当地领先的经纪商和国际银行进行开户和交易。于纳斯达克迪拜和迪拜金融市场上市的企业来自各个不同的行业，其中包括银行业、房地产、运输、建筑、电信等不同行业。同时，纳斯达克美国也在纳斯达克迪拜进行了2次上市。因此，纳斯达克迪拜欢迎来自各个不同行业、不同地区的企业与交易所进行 IPO 上市。在上市的当天，我们将为企业提供我们最大化的市场认知度。在上市的当天，我们将为企业提供这个盛大的开市民众典礼，并且于纳斯达克迪拜上市的企业，我们也将通过纳斯达克品牌为企业在这个纳斯达克纽约时代广场大屏上进行公告，并且交易所会通过区域和国际的媒体对企业的上市信息进行发布。我们想去做的不仅仅只是协助企业进行 IPO 上市来募集资金，更多的是希望企业通过 IPO 来拓展其中东北非和国际地区的业务。那么接下来我将详细为你介绍在这个迪拜资本市场上纳斯达克迪拜上市的详细内容。迪拜金融市场和纳斯达克迪拜为企业提供着多元化且灵活的上市规则和方式，帮助企业享受平台的资本链通性和国际声誉。那么2家交易所为不同阶段的企业也提供着更多的市场渠道和不同的选择。企业可以通过私有市场来熟悉交易所的上市流程和市场规则。那么对于正在发展中的企业，也可以通过纳斯达克迪拜成长型市场进行上市。于其余交易所上市的企业，也可以选择在迪拜金融市场或纳斯达克迪拜进行2次上市，来吸引新的投资人，同时保持着强大的国际影响力。那么，纳斯达克迪拜和迪拜金融市场的主板市场将会面向于位于成熟期的企业。纳斯达克迪拜的主板市场要求方面，在市值方面，企业最低市值需要达到2.5亿美元以上，并且提供3年符合国际会计师准则或中国会计师准则的财务审计报告。在运营资金方面，企业需要具备足够的运营资金，并且提供运营资金报告。该运营资金报告通常会由会计师事务所所编辑，并且纳入招股说明书中。在公众持股量方面，相较于其余交易所30%的自由流通公众持股量，纳斯达克迪拜仅需企业提供25%的自由流通公众持股量。 那么在货币方面的话，交易所也十分的灵活，我们可以接受以美元、阿联酋迪拉姆、人民币或其余任意币种进行 IPO 上市。主板市场的企业需要委任一家投行机构作为上市保荐人，那么该保荐人将协助企业进行 IPO 上市。当我们提到这个纳斯达克迪拜成长型市场时，在2020年4月，迪拜金融服务管理局监管发布了中小企业上市监管规则，于2020年10月底，由迪拜王储正式启动了纳斯达克迪拜成长型市场。那么目前为止，已有许多机构其中包括这个中国的企业，也正在申请纳斯达克迪拜的成长型市场。他们都处于不同的申请阶段。那我们也期待在2021年，伴随着上市企业的信息公布，正式推出纳斯达克迪拜的成长型市场。成长型市场将协助位于初创期和成长期的企业进入 IPO， 通过这个资本市场的 IPO 上市，吸引更多投资人来协助加速公司的成长。那么在成长型市场方面，我们不仅为企业提供 IPO 公开上市，同时我们也为企业提供私有市场作为选择，为正准备在2到3年内进行 IPO 上市的企业享有交易所基本措施，并且开始建立与交易所的联系，并获得更多上市辅助以及学习上市企业的最佳实践。纳斯达克迪拜成长型市场和主板市场上市要求上最大的区别会在市值方面的区别。当企业的市值在2.5亿美元以上，企业将进入纳斯达克迪拜主板市场；当其市值在2.5亿美元以下的话，它将进入这个成长型市场。那么成长型市场在公众持股量方面与主板市场相似，都仅需提供至少25%的自由流通公众持股量。财务审计报告方面，成长型市场的企业仅需提供1年符合国际会计师准则或中国会计师准则的财务审计报告。那么如果企业成立时间在3年以上，它也需提供3年符合要求的这个财务审计报告。在公司治理方面，我们希望以交易所上市的优质企业具有完善的公司管理结构，其包括独立董事、董事会以及经验丰富的管理人员。那么成长型市场的企业也需具备足够的运营资金，并且提供运营资金报告。从投资者的角度出发，他们希望企业所募集的资金是用于业务拓展，而并非支付日常的租金或员工工资等。那么成长型市场的企业所有的上市前股东也需保持1年的股东锁定期。在上市顾问方面，成长型市场的企业需要委任1名上市顾问，我们称为合规顾问。该合规顾问可以是精品投行、会计师事务所或律师事务所所担任，他们将协助企业进行 IPO 上市，并且在 IPO 上市之后持续担任3年的顾问机构。那么当成长型市场的企业，它的平均市值在90天内达到5亿美元，它便可以直接进入纳斯达克迪拜的主板市场。双边市场所对接的投资人，包括交易所给的这个品牌曝光度是一样的。成长型市场的推出，更主要是位于成长型阶段的这些中小型企业，提供 IPO 上市的渠道，来接触投资者，协助公司的成长。那么在上市流程方面，我们分为4个阶段：前期准备工作阶段、法律法规监管阶段，以及投资者路演、投资者参与阶段，一到最后的面向市场。那在投资者参与阶段，我们建议企业无需等到这个监管批复了招股说明书之后的路演，才和投资者进行对接。企业可以在前期准备阶段的时候，通过这个上市顾问接触主要投资者，寻求其反馈，这也将有助于企业的这个 IPO 上市。那么就如之前所介绍的，我们在企业上市当天将安排盛大的开市鸣钟典礼，并且运用交易所广泛的这个媒体资源，为企业的上市信息进行公告。我们也将在上市之前和之后定期为企业安排经纪商会议，确保经纪商是足够了解企业的最新状况。那么我们也将和您的投资者团队保持密切的合作，并且邀请您参与线上或线下的投资者路演，让您有机会和主要投资者进行对接。我们也将为您提供这个上市之后的服务，为您的主要股东分配股息。那接下来就是关于这个债券方面的介绍。于纳斯达克迪拜债券挂牌的发行人中，49%是来自阿联酋地区，另外51%是来自国际地区的不同发行人，其中包括香港政府、印尼政府、中国建设银行、中国工商银行等。 在债券挂牌方面，企业单笔发行额最低额需要在200万美元以上，并且提供2年符合国际会计师准则或中国会计师准则的财务审计报告。企业指定的律师事务所将根据迪拜金融服务管理局 DFSA 监管的要求起草招募说明书。那么在流程方面的话，企业所委任的律师律所需向交易所和监管提交这个申请文件，该申请文件也将包括目的说明书和尽职调查文件。那交易所和监管将会在几天内进行做出回应或批复。那么对于在线挂牌的企业，我们也会为企业安排开市民钟典礼，并且也将在纳斯达克纽约时代广场上进行公告。纳斯达克迪拜十分看重中国市场，那第一笔由这个中国企业所发行的债券是在2014年中国农业银行发行的第一笔债券。那陆陆续续之后，由中国企业所发行的债券共达到14笔，总价值达到113亿美元。其中这些发行人包括中国工商银行、中国建设银行、中国银行、中国农业银行以及银川铜联资本等。这些以上部分债券是由人民币所计价的，这也彰显了纳斯达克迪拜在国际资本市场上的地位。那么香港政府在纳斯达克迪拜也发行了3笔伊斯兰债券，总计价在30亿美元。那么您可以通过扫描屏幕上的这个二维码，关注纳斯达克迪拜的微信公众号，了解更多关于纳斯达克迪拜的最新信息。如果您对这个上市方面有任何的这个咨询或询问，也可以通过屏幕上的联系方式与我们分享。那这就是大概今天的这个介绍了。那接下来我将转接给俊杰，谢谢。
Thank you very much, Hui Ming, for your informative presentation. We hope after today's webinar, Nasdaq Dubai is now on the radar of more Chinese companies and institutions. 感谢邱小姐的精彩分享。Before moving on to the next presentation, allow me to quickly share my screen. Before moving on to the next presentation on the agenda, I have today's second and last polling question. 在进入下一个环节之前呢，我们将进行这个今天的第2个，也是我们今天的最后一个投票调研。像刚才一样，相信在各位的屏幕上已经出现了我们今天的这第2个问题，各位可以做出自己的选择。The question is, which asset class in China holds the best opportunities for UAE investors? And this is, as you can see, a question for our UAE delegates online today. 这个问题呢是中国哪种资产最适合阿联酋投资者？这个问题可能更多的是在介绍之后呢，针对于我们的这个阿联酋的这些参会的观众了，但是我们中国的观众也可以积极的这个做出自己的回答。I give you 10 more seconds to provide your feedback, please. 10秒钟之后呢，我会结束这个问卷的调查。
你别弄手机了，成语可以挂了。说10秒了。
好的，我这边会终止这个问卷调查，然后快速的跟大家分享结果。那其实按照今天的这个今天的这个调研结果呢，就是大部分的观众选择了这个资本市场，但实际上这个 capital markets 和 venture capital， 也就是分享投资这块，这个投票人数是几乎差不多的。好的，那感谢，我相信接下来呢，我们的这个嘉宾们会针对这个问题进行一些在 Q&A 环节进行一些更深层次的讨论。那今天的这个调查呢，就到这里为止。我们回到这个今天的最后一个 presentation. Thank you very much for participating in the polling question. I would like now to introduce our next speaker, Mr. David Guo, Chief Supervisor of Yilian Taik, Vice President and member of Zhongguancun Private Equity Venture Capital Association. 那接下来呢，让我们欢迎郭坚先生带来他的分享。郭坚先生是亿联数科监事长，亿联银行海外业务的负责人，中关村股权投资协会副会长单位。他的分享主题是数字银行的海外探索与实践。郭总，有请。
Yeah, Thank you. Thank you for the invitation from Chairman Mr. Wang, Doris, and Mr. C. And my topic will be a bit different from the previous one, because we have overheard a lot of information about the market, about investor, about the all the investment strategy and so on. So that's sounds to all of us. It's a pretty valued information and macro in a sense. And what I'm going to share with all the gentlemen and the guests is about the a niche market sector, the digital banking sector, which is an emerging new industry from the previous traditional ones. And if you look at the banking sector, if you look at this development history, and you will see the four phases. And the first one, of course, which is a purely traditional bank before the 1980. And since the emergence of all this technology supports and the solutions, and we see the banking sector marched into the second phase, which is electronic banking. Electronic banking will provide all the convenience from a distance to our clients to handle the accounts and sometimes to manage the transactions from time to time. And then when the burst out of the internet world and all the internet methodologies, and we see a lot of solutions around the banking sector has developed. For example, the mobile wallet and all the payment and as well as some products and through the internet connected over to our clients. But we noticed that over the phase, it has not been fully connected or it has not been fully automated. So it's basically we leverage on the technology to make something faster, to make something more convenient. And then we run into the current situation and the current phase, which is we call it the digitalized banking phases. And we will see all the channel, all the product, and all the client interaction and communication, and as well as the clearing and the settlement has been digitalized. Digitalized means basically we don't have the outlets, right? So digital bank, we don't have the outlets. We don't have all the customer face-to-face processing, and we don't have. We're basically running all the business on paperless basis. So that's fully digitalized. And how we actually achieve that, and I will further elaborate, in the next phases. So how much time do I have? I think 20 minutes. Okay. Let me do a small comparison between the different banks at the moment. If we're talking about the digital bank, and then normally you will overheard a new bank, a challenger bank, and a digital bank. I think the base idea are the same. So basically, all these banking institutions will be providing the services through the digitalized way and very, very technology concentrated, but a bit different. So I won't run into all the details. Basically, I would say the new bank is a solution-driven or solution-focused. Challenger bank is basically in comparing with traditional bank, providing through the media, providing the small banks services to the clients. And the digital bank is about the advanced stage, which means we in the bank from the core banking sector, from the product system, from all the face-to-face and the interface services, and we trying to digitalize everything. That means everything will be under the automation environment, and interaction will be able to serve the mass, very large populations, at the same time. For example, we have a TPS within the digital bank. We can provide the services or transaction processing by number of 700,000 per second. So that's basically we'll be able to seamless connected into now the internet world, and particular all the platform, the large platform, so digitalized. But we haven't answered the questions how we processing all the transactions behind, because I mentioned a lot about there's a face-to-face interaction, there's paper documentations need to be processed and handle it. Thanks to the regulators and thanks to the market faster development, and basically in the digital banking sector, and everything has been digitalized, including all the customer information, and even we're talking about the risk assessment, processing, and the scoring, and payment, and notification, and everything has been digitalized. So a lot of vendors, around the digital banks, providing the particular niche services to satisfy all this digitalized way of handling customers and processing deals. I don't want to run into the details because there's many aspects. For example, I only give you an example. For example, we have the risk assessment. We call it the risk assessment engine, and this engine we basically collecting 36 vendors particular information around one single customer. They are all licensed by the government, and to come out with a customer profile from a risk perspective. And then we're using FICO, for example, to actually quickly run out the scoring, so that we'll be able to assess whether this is valued clients or whether this is a bankable clients, that we'll be able to ground how much money over to them. So that's over a personal credit things. This is not the case. I think in the past, for example, I think here everybody has experience in doing a mortgage. But if you take a mortgage, it probably will take you how much time? Weeks, months, and the processing with all the documentation, provide documentations, and of course that's some property related things. But even we're talking about the consumer finance in the past, and still we have a lot of paper and form to work with. But under the digital banking methodology and philosophy, and all these transactions, all this data collecting and the scoring will be done in how much time? In 0.57 seconds. So that means you click over the screen, and then within 1 second you got money. So that is why the digital bank has been becoming very, very useful and helpful over to our clients, in particular sector, of course. There's a very it's a glance of a quick comparison with we're using the digital bank, because it's not just the customer service or customer experience will be enhanced gratefully, and as well as I think in terms of the cost saving, and you will see there's a lot of improvement from the way of services by a digital bank, and we can actually decrease significantly all this cost per transaction, and of course not to mention the processing time. Even we produce, even we develop a new product, over the line, and it takes us only 15 to less than 2 months because of all the compliance and the legal issues to be resolved before we put up all the products online. But in traditional bank, because there's a lot of things to prepare. For example, the paperwork and the distribution. How can I say? You have to brief all the frontline people so that they would understand what the new product is. But under digital bank, philosophy, and we just put the products online. So it's a lot of savings, and of course a lot of convenience of the clients as well. Let's look at it quickly at a glance how digital bank has developed here in China, and I have to say, digital bank is something new to China market as well. Even though we have quite an internet world and internet methodology to serve our clients in many aspects during our life, but banking sector has been highly regulated. So there are only 4 banks here in China granted with a full license of digital banking. One is of course the Meituan, and Yilian Bank is under the Meituan, and another one is WeBank, Tencent, and Alibaba's MyBank, and as well as Xinwang. Xinwang is Xiaomi. Xiaomi is one of the largest shareholders. So you will see the license was granted over to the previous the large internet platforms service providers. So that means there will be synergies not only in the technology sharing, as well as customer gathering, as well as acquiring, as well as I think the much more effective measures of securities, because this is something when the products and the clients are exposed over the line, so online, so we must be very careful. That's something. But of course, we have to mention there's geographic restrictions when we running a bank here in China, but for digital bank there's not. Digital bank is able to reach out every corner of the country. In fact, if there's no border between countries, and the digital bank from its capability aspect and product and services can reach out to corner of everywhere in the world. I don't run into the details of I'm not going to run into the details of the products, and this is a comparison as well. And we mentioned about the efficiency and effectiveness, and there's a breakdown. So you can take the materials to and you can raise questions about that. So in terms of products, in terms of clients, in terms of core, the way of competitors and the customer acquiring, and there's a quite innovation, for the digital bank from traditional ones. I don't want to run through the details because of time constraints. Let's see the key. If you run a digital bank, and we notice something that makes us a bit different. Key number 1 is connection. So we say connection. That means we will be able to connect our clients in one go. That means we don't need to go through all these agents, outlets, physical branch offices, and even people. So we connect our clients in a direct way, and we deliver our products in a direct way. So we mentioned about technology side, API, SDK, but that's all the tools to allow us to connect customer in a very direct and quick and way. And the second is open. Open means basically we don't, I have to say, we don't run a digital bank in a traditional bank way. How can I say that? Maybe I can raise one particular point. A traditional bank is pretty much like a supermarket, and you have all the commodities arrayed, and you're scared of missing something the customer cannot acquire. But digital bank is different. Basically, we did a lot of due diligence works and to study the customer's needs and to come up with something, the needs in common. And then we standardize the processing, we standardize process and standardize the product. And we're trying to find a way in midway. We're trying to find a way which accepted to the largest populations for that particular products. And then something we're going to deliver over the clients. We don't wait over there for customers to acquire. So all the products, all the services we deliver, we distribute in a proactive way. So that's basically the idea. But this needs all the product people and the business people and even the bankers to think everything in an open way. So we have to adapt ourselves over to the internet world, and we have to cooperate closely and even sometimes compromise in certain ways, so long as we'll be able to comply with all the regulatory requirements, then so that we'll be able to connect to our clients together with a platform. And ecology. This is, of course, from a traditional bank way, and we actually become pretty much focused. We sometimes will say ourselves are a product bank. We're not a bank. We're a product factory. We come up with some products which will be able to connect, will be able to adapt to open environment, and then we allow the platform to actually manage the front end, the clients. For example, the client's needs, the client's feedback, the client services, call center, and as well. So that's something we run this business more or less together with all the market players in different stages. Let's take a quick look. The development of the digital bank across the world, and COVID brought us impact, but at the same time, COVID opened up our thoughts from many aspects. We work from home, we have zero contact, we have zero touch, and so for the banking services, the same. So that COVID, from in certain way, pushed the bank turn into the non-contact bank manner, so which boost the development and the value of a digital bank. That's let's look at the valuation of a digital bank worldwide, and you will see for Chim and Afterpay and N27, N26, and the Revolut, WeBank, it has achieved a very high market valuation. So how can I say, we actually noticed that, and in the banking sector we look at the PE, PB in the past, but in digital bank, this particular niche sector, and investors don't look at the PE and the PB. They look at the customer acquiring, way of customer acquiring, and the customer acquiring increasing rate over time, over year. So they give their own, judgment to invest. So so you will see the valuation of this digital bank or quasi-digital bank has been very, very high. Bitcoin. I just slightly mentioned about Bitcoin, the blockchain things, because we have the foundation of digital bank. We have everything in a technology way to present, and then we'll be able to much for us. It's going to be much easier for a digital bank to turn into the future blockchain way of customer services. We have to face that. We have to face that, not because of the rise of Bitcoin. It's a basic difference of, for example, decentralized and less transaction cost, despite the very high at the moment. So I think that's something we're going to face. We are prepared to receive all the challenges, to face all these challenges, because if we're talking about the digital bank, we're talking about the digitalized way of providing bank services. We can call it the constructive innovation. That means we'll be able to provide our services faster, friendlier, and smarter, and make more money, and less cost, and more profit. But Bitcoin and the blockchain, we see the future is which we call it the disruptive innovation. So we don't know how the banking sector will be the way forward for the banking sector to develop, but this is something at least we are preparing from a digital bank perspective. There's a project we actually ran before, apart from Yilan Bank under Meituan, and we actually invest in Ukraine, a bank which is a previously traditional bank, and we turned into the digital bank, and we changed everything, and even the team, even the products, and the way of customer facing, and it's still in progress. This is something we hope we'll be able to share with all the audience, the guests. So what aspects will we look at in turning a traditional bank into a digital bank. So that's a basic some backgrounds, and yeah. From we actually learn from our experience here in China market and Ukraine, and we have some major issues we're dealing with, and we come up with some ideas, so we'll be able to look into. And actually we formed a fund, private fund, and at the moment, and we hope that we'll be able to invest into more this kind of overseas banks, so that we'll be able to make a chain of digital bank across the world, and we will see how we'll be able to make a rapid change in different countries. I think that's necessary. We will be working next step. Okay, that's some basic information about this particular sector, which is a particular micro from the whole previous topics. But I think this is something also important. We talk about investment, we talk about the markets, but we will actually introduce to everybody how we make money from this niche market sector in a much more efficient way. Actually, I can share with audience, and we run a bank at the Yilan Bank. We stopped the bank with nothing, basically, only the capital. And within the first year, actually, when we have all the products up and running on the platform, an internet platform. So within a year, actually, we make the bank profitable. And a year and a half, in a year and a half, we were able to use up all the capitals. And in the second year, we start to inject new capitals. And now it's the third year. Let me see, fourth year. Now fourth year, we start to prepare the IPO. So that's actually the way, the speed of a digital bank, how digital bank will be able to make this successful. So that's the brief introduction from me. I give the floor back. Thank you for listening. I give the floor back to Mr. C. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Guo, for your valuable presentation. 非常感谢郭先生的精彩分享。我现在将屏幕控制回来。With the last presentation concluded, we're now going to start our Q&A session. We have several questions that have been submitted by the audience. As a reminder, if you have a question that you have not yet submitted, please enter it in the Q&A or the chat box. We will get through as many questions as time allows. 在今天最后的一个分享，有郭先生的精彩分享结束之后呢，我们将开始我们最后的问答环节。再一次提醒您呢，就是如果还有这个尚未提交的问题，请在屏幕下方的这个对话框或者是问答框里输入该问题，我们会在时间允许的情况下尽量解答您的问题。Well, I have a couple of questions actually. First, all towards Nasdaq Dubai, and I believe Huiming, you will be able to answer those. Some of them were mentioned in the chat box. One of the delegates are asking, when are Chinese companies ready to go public in Nasdaq Dubai? And also a following up questions, I believe, is there already existing companies in Nasdaq Dubai? So Huiming, would you like to address these questions? Sorry, I'll translate it quickly in Chinese. 在这个我们的聊天或者问答框里边有2个关于纳斯达克迪拜的问题，一个是关于这个中国企业什么时候能去迪拜纳斯达克上市，以及是否已经有中国企业在迪拜纳斯达克上市。那我们的嘉宾慧敏会把这个问题给大家做一个详细的解答，有请。
谢谢君姐。那关于这个有嘉宾问到中国企业是否能到纳斯达克迪拜进行上市的问题，纳斯达克迪拜对这个中国市场一直是很看重的。那么在纳斯达克迪拜这个 IPO 上市的板块，不论是主板还是成长型板块来讲，作为一个国际型证券交易所，我们也是欢迎从各个不同地区的企业与交易所进行上市。所以对于那个问题的话是可以的，中国企业是可以在纳斯达克迪拜进行上市的。对。那下一个问题，您有这个观众有问到这个现在是否有中国企业已经在纳斯达克迪拜进行上市了？那纳斯达克迪拜成长型市场在刚刚的 PPT 中我也介绍了，它是在2020年4月份监管批复，在2020年的10月份由这个迪拜王储正式启动。那现在目前为止已有许多企业，其中包括中国企业，都在不同阶段的申请这个纳斯达克迪拜的这个成长型市场上市。那我们也期待就是在今年2021年，可能在第3季度或第4季度会迎来这个企业上市的，包括中国企业上市的这个好消息。
好的，谢谢慧敏。Thank you very much, Huiming. Actually, there's an additional question mentioned in the Q&A chat box. Can the listed companies be listed in Dubai Nasdaq again? I believe this means dual listing. Maybe you can address this question as well. I'll quickly translate it in Chinese. 我们还有另外一个问题问到的是这个纳斯达克迪拜，就是已经在国内上市或者在其他地方上市的公司，可以再次在纳斯达克迪拜上市吗？慧敏，有请。
谢谢君姐。是的，可以的。如果在其余交易所进行 IPO 上市的这个企业，也是可以在纳斯达克迪拜进行2次上市，来吸引新的投资人。这个保持企业的这个国际的这个知名度是可行的。
好的，谢谢慧敏。Thank you very much, Huiming. I have a next question, and I believe Tarek, you already addressed it kindly, but I want to, throw it to you again for you to elaborate a little bit more. The question was typed in Chinese, and Tarek, I guess you have understanding on Chinese already, maybe by Google, but thank you very much again. I repeat the question, does Dubai have LP interested in participating in China's domestic funds, mainly in the technology and retail sector? So Tarek, before I give the floor to you, allow me to quickly translate it in Chinese again. 我们刚也收到了一个问题，是我们中国的观众问到的，迪拜有没有这个 LP 有兴趣参与到中国的境内资金，主要是境内基金，主要是在这个科技和零售行业。那我们的这个发言人 Tarek 先生呢会做一个简单的作答，有请我们的同传译员做一个简单的翻译，谢谢。Tarek, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So the short answer is yes. Most of the investors I'm talking with, they are looking at China as a source of technology. Previously, investors were shying away from China as a station for technology, but not anymore. The innovation has started, and it's now ahead of any other country in the world. And as we can see now, people are more trusting the COVID-19 vaccine, the Chinese one, rather than the European one, which is, a great achievement for China. So I think the table is turning, and the innovation in China is booming, and investors are seeing the difference between 20 years back and now.
Thank you very much, Tarek. I have today's last question because of the time. I will select this question because it's very relevant to Mr. Guo's presentation. 因为时间的原因呢，我们今天在解答最后一个问题，就是关于刚好这个问题和我们郭坚先生分享的这个题目也有相关性。这个题目是英文问到的，How do the guest speakers think about the use of digital currency in cross-border investment, especially related to Bitcoin and other fast-moving crypto platforms? What is Dubai doing to prepare for this segment of fintech? 就是如果郭先生您可以回答前面一半的这个问题，那就是非常感谢。
Yeah, I think that's something everybody is expecting to have the market further relaxed, but in my personal view, and we have to prepare ourselves from a technical perspective. We can't say we'll be able to run into a fully deregularized environment that will be able to settle things by using the digital currency. Digital currencies actually by concept can be divided into different categories. One of the categories is actually the blockchain currency, and some other central banks are developing their own digital currencies. But that is sounds to me is not something new. It's just different forms of the existing currencies. So it won't cause a great impact. It just brings us coming as what I say is kind of a constructive innovation. So but not very constructive. But we look at the blockchain to be further relaxed or regularized. We will see. At the moment, we wait and we prepare ourselves with all the technologies and platforms, and as well as we'll be able to to connect into a digital currency world in the future. From a banking sector, banking sector, I have to mention this particular point. Banking sector has still been very restrictedly regularized. Restricted in many ways, and a lot of rates and requirement to be compliant with. So we will see. But this is a future trend. Can't be stopped. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Guo, for your answer. 非常感谢郭先生的这个精彩作答。因为时间的关系呢，我们今天的这个线上研讨会以及它的问答环节到这里就结束了。Thank you to everyone who joined us for today's webinar. Special thanks to our speakers for sharing your insight and expertise. If you have any additional questions or would like to connect directly with us, you can either reach out to us directly using the contact information on the slide, or you can reach out via LinkedIn. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day. 感谢所有参与我们今天网络研讨会的嘉宾。本次研讨会由迪拜工商会、中关村股权投资协会、迪拜资本俱乐部主办，纳斯达克迪拜支持举办。衷心谢谢我们各大合作伙伴，也特别感谢我们今天演讲者分享各位的见解和专业的知识。如果您还有其他的疑问或者想跟我们直接联系，可以用这张幻灯片上的联系信息和我们联系。后期呢，我们也会将今天用到或者分享到的所有的演讲材料分享给通过邮件的形式分享给大家。谢谢您的宝贵时间，祝您度过愉快的一天，再见。
Thank you.